Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. My name is Alex and today we're going to talk about handling application events in Spring Boot. So application events are one of those features that I rarely see in real-world projects, and there may be good reasons for that because there's no more a static code path, right? If you have method invocations, you usually can see which method is invoked, and you see that during compile time already. It is no longer the case when you're using application events because the publish-subscriber relationship that's only established during runtime. But there can be still benefits to using these events. So in today's video, I'm going to show you how you can subscribe to events, how you can publish your own events, and how you can react to just certain conditions when it comes to these events. So without further ado, let's code. All right, so we are in the IDE as usual. Let's take a quick look at the build file. You can see there's nothing fancy in here. It's just the boilerplate project that the Spring initializer is creating. So it's using Spring Framework like Boot 272. That was a long word, so it's Spring Boot 272. Nothing else comes in here. So, and let's just dive right in. Let's actually start with the new component right away and start consuming some of the events that are already there, because it turns out that Spring is already publishing its own events. So let's create a component that's called event service. We just annotated with the service stereotype. And yeah, so there, as you probably know, Spring has different lifecycle events that you can just hook into. And one of the ways we can do this is using an event listener. So let's actually subscribe to the onReady event essentially. And this is how it's done. So onReady, we expect an event, and this is the, well, application ready event as it turns out. And what we're gonna do is, let's just go with a logger as usual. Private, equals logger factory, get logger event service class Java. So, and all that we're doing is writing application is ready. Yeah, that's almost all. What we need to do is use the event listener annotation like so. So now, as soon as the application is ready, the context has been established. This event is published by Spring itself. We should receive that here, and then we just log that the application is ready. So let's just give that a try. Let me go to the application. Let's start that and see what's happening there. So you can see application is ready as we would expect, right? So this is all there is to it. So all we need to do is just put the event listener annotation on a function or method and just specify the type of event that we expect to receive. And these methods not necessarily have to return something, but as we see in a second, they can, because now we're going to the part where we just publish something ourselves. So how would you do this? Well, first of all, we need something to publish them, which is the publisher, and that's the application event publisher. That's already configured. We can just inject it here. And now with the publisher, we of course need a few events. Like in earlier versions of Spring, you would have to implement an interface to have these application events, but this is no longer needed. So let's just pretend we're building a service for users to subscribe to our newsletter. We expect one event, which is the subscription event itself. And then later on, we will have a double opt-in event where users have to just confirm whether they really want to subscribe to the newsletter. So let's call this user subscribed event, and we expect an email, and that's all. So we just pretend that this event has just happened. So what we do is publish event. There is a user subscribed event, and email is johndoe@example.org. So yeah, let's extend that. So we're publishing events. So, and let me also log once the publishing of the events has finished. Let's call finished publishing event. Now we're publishing an event, but there's no listener for that yet, right? So let's create that. So we call that on user subscribed. event, and now we use the user subscribe event, and we just log, okay, new subscriber, and that's this email, right? So let's just add the annotation as we have to, event listener, and let's start the application again, and let's just see what happens when we do so. So let me just clean this up a little bit. So we can see application is ready. That's the first event. That hasn't changed, right? Then we publish our own event, which is this one, johndoe.example.org. So this is this log here, and then we finish publishing the event. So far there's not much new, but what we can do here now is we can return an event which itself is automatically published, and this is pretty cool. So let's create a new event first. We call that the user opt-in event, and you don't have to append event to these types. It just makes it more obvious what this is about. So we expect still the email, so we know which user it is, and let's have a boolean confirm, right? So in a real world scenario, someone would now get a double opt-in email, so asking the user to really confirm that they want to subscribe to the newsletter. So they can either confirm or reject that. And this is the second event. And we just published the event here. Usually that will come from the outside, right? So what we're going to do is publisher. No, not the publisher. We just return the event here. So it's user opt-in event. We're using the email from the previous event, and we tell it to be confirmed. And now we have to change the return type. So what we've done here is we just return the user opt-in event from the very function that was already listening for the user subscribed event. So we just return it here, and Spring will pick it up automatically and publish it itself. So now let's go with the next listener, which is fun on user opt-in. Now we expect the user opt-in event, and now we're gonna handle that. So we just let's log this here again, subscriber opt-in, and now we have again the email, and let's also specify whether the user has actually confirmed or not. So we can use event confirmed. So we are just logging that, and just for the sake of completeness, let me just quickly run this, and then we'll just make a few tweaks to what we have here. So just to confirm that works, application is ready, it's publishing the events, new subscriber sub opt-in, and finish publishing. So that all works, but now let's assume that something's taking a lot of time, right? And just to recap, we returned the user opt-in event here, and that has been picked up by Spring, published itself, and now we just can consume it with this event listener. And usually you don't have to have all of these in the same Spring component, right? These can be scattered across multiple components, depending on your particular needs. But now let's assume that this method here takes a lot of time. Let's assume that 5 seconds are already long. We just say log info edit event email to the newsletter. So for whatever reason, it takes a lot of time to just do this. Now when we run this, let's see what happens. We can see applications ready. We're publishing the events. We have the new subscriber. We have the opt-in. We added John, and then we say finish publishing events. So what does this mean? This log message is actually this one from the very first function that we're using here, which says finish publishing events. And what this tells us is that all these function or method invocations are synchronous. So that means they are published to all of the subscribers, but if they are taking long, then this method is blocked essentially, which is sometimes probably not what you want. So we can improve that by using the known async annotation. And to make it work, we also have to enable that, enable async, right? And if we run the application right now, then we can see that the order has changed. So it says application is ready, publishing events, and it says here finish publishing event, And then later on we have the opt-in. So that means this method or function is now invoked asynchronously. So it's not blocking the publisher over here. Okay, so but now let's come to the final bit of this intro video for the application events. Let's assume that we want only handle subscribers who confirmed to be added to the newsletter, right? So far now, if there's an opt-in event, we just subscribe everyone who's there, but we just want to make sure that only the users who opted in are added to the newsletter, because it takes a lot of time. We just don't want to waste that, or people who don't want to subscribe to the newsletter. So what we can do here is we can use the Spring expression language and can specify our condition. So I can reference the event using hash event confirmed, which is the Boolean, and can make sure only if it equals true, this event listener is actually invoked. And right now it is true, right? So if we just go back and start the application here, what you will see is that it still says subscriber opt-in, and we have added John as we used to. But now if we just go back and change this to false, right? So what we're doing here is we say the user opt-in event is now false. So your user doesn't want to be added to our newsletter, which is sad. If we now run the application again, what we see is that nothing happens. So we have a new subscriber and we finish the publishing, but nothing else happens because the event doesn't qualify for the listener, right? So it's filtered out because the user did not confirm to be added to the newsletter. There's way more that you can do with application events, especially when it comes to transaction handling. And I go into that in a later video. So make sure to subscribe, and I see you on the next one.